With Shazam 2 almost out of cinemas and arriving on streaming platforms very, very soon, today I decided to stop and give my thoughts on Shazam Fury of the Gods. Welcome to the MRM YouTube channel, let's get into it. What is going on, guys? It is Marco here, back with another video for the MRM YouTube channel, and as I mentioned, I will be reviewing Shazam Fury of the Gods, a 2023 American superhero film. Before I do get into my general thoughts and comments, there are just a few things I wanted to get out of the way. First off, I'd like to thank you all for your support on both the channel and the Instagram page as well. Recently, I posted an out-of-theatre reaction for Shazam, and the amount of views I've gotten on that short has been absolutely phenomenal, so I thank you guys so much for that. Of course, you can continue to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing to the channel if you haven't, and leaving your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll also be linking the Instagram page down below, so give that a follow as well. For this review, it will be a spoiler review, so I will be mentioning key plot points from the film. If you haven't seen the film yet, I suggest going to see it in cinemas first so you can better understand what I'm saying here. Otherwise, you can continue at your own risk. I will also be giving my final score and whether you should see it in cinemas or wait for it on streaming at the end of the video, so stick around for that. With that all out of the way, let's get into the first point of this review, and that is the plot, cast, and crew. So the plot this time around sees Shazam taking on the villainous duo of Hespera and Calypso, who want to restore the power and the vision of the gods on Earth. Together with the family, Shazam must overcome this villainous duo while also learning some important life lessons. The film is directed by David F. Sandberg, who did direct the first Shazam back in 2019, and does see Zachary Levi reprise the role of Shazam, as well as Asher Angel as Billy Batson. Of course, there are two new additions, with that being Helen Mirren as Hespera and Lucy Liu as Calypso. Now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the things I liked about Shazam Fury of the Gods. So probably the first thing I really liked about Shazam was actually the aesthetic of the film. Shazam has always, a really strong suit of Shazam is the comedic tones, and sort of, I guess, the brighter color palette of the film. You know, definitely elevates it above sort of the other darker, more grayer color palette, color grading DC films. And this time around, I do think that the color palette and those sort of, I guess, comedic tones were definitely prevalent. Maybe a bit too prevalent, but I think overall it definitely held up. Philadelphia this time definitely looked a lot brighter compared to sort of the darker settings in the first film. But overall, I just really love the aesthetic of Philadelphia. Even the characters themselves looked absolutely bright, and it definitely looked like a proper comic book movie, but definitely had a substantial amount of money put into it. Speaking of the characters, I really love the costumes on the characters, with Shazam definitely being the standout for me. Probably the most notable thing I liked was the sort of lightning bolt logo on their chest. I like the fact that during the day it was just sort of this golden lightning bolt, but at night it actually glowed in the dark, so I thought that was really cool. Probably one thing though I would add is the signature hood that he does have in the comics, but otherwise I really love the suit. Also love the tiger belt buckles, but really love the suits overall this time around. I guess the final thing that I really liked about Shazam Fury of the Gods was actually the themes it delved into. One of the more sort of prevalent themes of this film was actually the idea of family, because Billy / Shazam sort of has this problem of trying to let his family go, because for a lot of the film he is seen working together with the Shazam family, but a lot of them do want to sort of start living their own lives, kind of doing their own superhero things, and of course eventually, you know, he does learn that sometimes it is best to let things go and sort of become your own person and not let others sort of see you how they want to see you. But I think the family themes this time around were definitely heightened. I think were actually some of the best, if anything. Definitely some key moments, like when Rosa talks to Billy, you know, motivates him to take on Calypso and Hespera. You know, I think the family themes this time around were really, really good. Of course, those were my likes for Shazam Fury of the Gods. However, there were definitely some flaws of the film, which we will be getting into right away. So probably the first flaw I had with the film was actually the characterization, specifically with Shazam. I do think Asher Angel did a pretty good job of Billy Batson. He was quite funny at times, but he still had this sort of sense of maturity. However, Zachary Levi's performance as Shazam was probably probably the main problem I had with the film. And no disrespect to Zachary Levi, I really love him as Shazam. I do hope he continues into James Gunn's new DC universe. But I felt this time around that he didn't have that sort of same level of maturity that Asher Angel has with Billy Batson. And considering that Asher Angel is almost in his 20s, I was really hoping that Zachary Levi could really portray that sort of maturity in Shazam. But this time around, he felt more like this goofy, sort of almost like a 13-year-old in a sense. There were times where they would be mentioning a key plot point or something that seemed really obvious, like even to someone like me or someone younger than me, that would seem obvious, and he didn't know. And for me, I thought that kind of made his character a lot more dumber in a sense. And I also thought he kind of acted like a baby at times. Like at one point when, you know, Freddie Freeman, when he's in his superhero form, when he kind of does his own things, he kind of has sort of a big tantrum and kind of goes, you know, why are you doing this? You know, I told you not to do this and all this sort of stuff. You know, and sure, Freddie was a bit reckless, but, you know, he does inform Shazam / Billy that, you know, sometimes they have to do their own thing. They can't just always, you know, be restricted by what he says. So yeah, this time around, I thought the characterization of Shazam was not 100%, and, you know, I thought it could have been a lot better. I guess the next thing I didn't really like about Shazam was actually the story. It felt very simplistic. There may have been some elements that are a bit complicated, but it was a very simplistic story. The idea that just, you know, the daughters of the god Atlas just come to Earth and just want to conquer the planet. Like, that's the overall plot. They just come to Earth and try to conquer the planet, and Shazam has to stop them. You know, there wasn't really anything interesting. I mean, as I said, there were the family themes, and I like that subplot of, you know, Shazam trying to deal with, you know, working with his family as well as maintaining his social life. But as for like the main A-grade plot, I wouldn't even say it's A-grade. It was probably more B, even C-grade at the most. You know, it was very simplistic and there wasn't really that much to it. Very much like Black Adam, the story was very straightforward. You didn't really have to think about it that much. Probably the final thing that I didn't like about Shazam was also the villains. While I do think that Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu definitely put in a pretty good performance, I just felt that the villains were a bit too vague. And I get the idea that they are original villains. We haven't actually seen them in the DC universe. I don't know, in comics or maybe in other medias, but I think this is the first time we've actually seen these villains. I do think they were just very sort of vague. They do explain their power set, with Hespera having control over elements and Calypso, I guess, instigating chaos. But as for that, they don't really delve into the backstory of the villains that much. So in the end, we're kind of just meant to assume. I mean, as I said, they mentioned they're the daughters of Atlas. But for me, you know, I'm just like, okay, can we get a bit more? You know, why are they doing what they're doing? I just feel like it wasn't explained that well. But anyway, that's what I didn't like out of the way. I mean, you know, pretty balanced, to be honest. I do think there were some good things and some not so great things. But with that out of the way, let's get into my final thoughts / score. So at the end of the day, and I did mention this in my YouTube short, Shazam! Fury of the Gods is a pretty fun film, but it's one of those films where you kind of just need to go in there, turn your brain off for 2 hours and just kind of enjoy it. It's not really a film that you can really delve into and unpack a lot. As I said, there were some good moments and some sort of complicated story points that I thought definitely elevated the film, but it's a very sort of straightforward story, very sort of, you know, world-threatening ending sort of film. But yeah, very straightforward story. I doubt you'll find it too difficult to understand. And as I said, I do like the aesthetic of the film. And I do like the characters' costumes in this film. However, just the characterization of Shazam definitely, and you know, Shazam is the main character, just his characterization definitely kind of wrecked the film a bit. And I do think the villains were a bit vague. And as I said, the story was very simple. Now, as for my final score for this film, I was contemplating about what to give it, but I think in the end I will settle on giving it a solid 5 out of 10. Look, it doesn't really do anything new. Like, it does build on Shazam and what he's been doing since the first film. However, it doesn't really entice me in any way. There's nothing that there's nothing new that it offers. Sure, we get new villains, you know, new sort of characterization, but really it's pretty consistent with the first film and not much is really different. And also the reason I give it a 5 out of 10 is because, yeah, just those flaws are a bit too bit too prevalent throughout the film. And of course, as for whether you should see it in cinemas or on streaming, if I'm going to be honest, definitely wait for it to come out on streaming. With the performance of Shazam at the box office right now, yeah, I definitely wait for it to come out on streaming. I saw it in cinemas, and while I did enjoy it, I think though that the fact that, you know, its box office performance has kind of, you know, suffered a bit, and it's coming out on streaming very soon. I just recommend just saving up your money and just wait for it to come out on, you know, HBO Max or Binge or whatever streaming services it comes out on. But with all that said and done, we are now at the end of this review. I thank you all for watching again. Remember, don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below on what you thought of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. If I did leave out any key details from the film, do say so in the comment section below. I'd love to start a discussion with you guys. But either way, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for visiting the MRM YouTube channel if you have visited before, or if you're a new visitor. Don't forget to follow the Instagram page, and keep watching movies.